Thank you for staying with Your World on NTV this morning. Of course, we have been talking about the future of education, and if we have been talking about the future of education, what's better than talking about the future of work? Yes, and when COVID-19 lockdowns began, there was nowhere to go other than online. The pandemic affected the way we work and the way we interact with others. Changes that could have taken years were effected in just days. But the question is, will we ever change back? And that's what we ask you this morning, and we want you to be part of this conversation by tweeting us at NTV Kenya and at Victor Kiprop _. Talk to us about how, of course, COVID-19 has affected the way you work over the past 1 year. This conversation is also ongoing on Facebook and Instagram. But just let me introduce to you my panel this morning, the people who will help me drive this conversation. With me in studio, Grace Nzula. She's a HR professional and consultant, and also development coordinator of the Institute of Human Resource. Welcome to the show, Grace.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, joining us virtually this morning is also Kendi Nderitu. She's a country manager for Microsoft. Kendi, good morning. Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Victor, and thank you for having me.
Good. Grace, let me just start here. I mean, we didn't know that when COVID-19 and we reported the first case and all that, and people started thinking of working from home, we didn't know that the world of work was perhaps about to change forever.
No, we did not. To be honest, we kept talking about the future of work. We saw it coming. However, we are 16 years early.
Wow, 16?
16 years early,
That's
yes.
massive.
Yes, yes. We were, like all the conferences we've been having, we've been saying, are you preparing for virtual offices? Are you preparing for...
And it sounded so futuristic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We actually sounded like we are talking theory and not practical. So... we kept talking about virtual offices, we kept talking about flexi working hours, we kept talking about the gig economy. Yeah. And we kept saying, we need to prepare, we need to prepare. Then COVID comes and tells you, boss, it's now. Yeah. It's not tomorrow. Yeah. So, and we have had to adopt. And
or you die.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. For your business to work right now, you have to adopt, because the change is real. Yeah.
And it's amazing how we didn't know we could do so much.
It's amazing to see what people are able to do within such a short period. Because right now in our forums, you're not even discussing the adaptability to the new style of work. We are talking about how do we now fully adopt to it. Not really the, you know, like last year we were talking about how do we do now. Yeah. But now we are saying, what do we do now that can take us 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Okay. So we are changing strategies, we are changing the way we monitor employees from a HR point. We are also changing how we are training people. Yeah. So this is real. Yeah. It is real.
I'd like to bring in Kendi to this, but let me just remind you again that we want you to be part of this conversation. We're asking you, and this is our question of the day, how has COVID-19 affected the way you work today? Remember, you can tweet us at NTV Kenya and at Victor Kiprop _. Use the hashtag new normal. If you're not on Twitter, you can follow the conversation on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, you can be on Instagram. And if you're not on Instagram, you surely can be on YouTube, where you can follow this conversation and be part of it. If you're not on any of those platforms, you can call in or text in and be part of this conversation. There's no excuse. So for Kendi, I mean, you are at the forefront of for those who have been preaching for us these things for so many years. Come on, guys, we need to think about the future. Oh, and it sounded so futuristic, by the way. And for the last 1 year, it sounded like some sort of a forced experiment, you know? From where you sit, do you think the experiment has worked?
Victor, thank you for the question. I think it was an experiment in the beginning, but now it's a reality.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we have to build, like Grace said, we have to build on what we've learned in the last 1 year or the last 12 months to create a workplace where employees can thrive, where everyone can thrive. And we've helped, as you know, we have tools that help in remote productivity as Microsoft. And so we've been able to gather data that we've put out there that business leaders, HR practitioners, players, decision makers can actually utilize to see how best to adopt so that they can remain relevant in this day and age. Relevant to tap the right talent, relevant to be productive so that they can support their enterprises. So there's a lot of support and information that is out, which has actually really been built over the last 12 months.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you last time. Did you have to take a pandemic?
To a good extent, I think so.
Okay.
Like she said earlier, it used to sound so futuristic. We used to sound like dreamers, like we're just positioning stuff out there. It reminds me almost of when we used to talk about artificial intelligence back when I was still in school, which is like many years ago. And it sounded so vague. But now with the pandemic, it's so real. And people had to just quickly adopt. And those who didn't adopt, sorry, then you don't remain relevant in so many ways.
Mm-hmm. Grace, what's your biggest lesson over the last 1 year?
Change is inevitable. Progress is not.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
And of course, in between that journey, there have been quite a number of challenges, I believe.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Kenya especially, we are not yet ready for example, the hybrid system, because I know there's some organizations that are adopting, but we are still lacking in terms of infrastructure. Look at power outages. You're working from home, you're expected to produce results, and then lights go off. And you're at home, there's no generator, there's no backup. And you have to either resort to working with your phone or now find a way to work. So some of these are the challenges that we are facing. Obviously, wellness is a big, big problem.
Yeah.
We are experiencing a lot of burnout.
Yes.
On Thursday last week, I had back-to-back Zoom meetings from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. My back hurt. My mind wanted to shut down. So, and I could imagine the people who are doing this every day. I can't. And I'm thinking, what about the people who don't have a choice? Because I can choose when to work on Zoom and not.
Yeah.
So the hybrid work system is actually probably better placed for our employees than just work from home.
And I'll come back to the hybrid system in a bit. But you see, the challenge when we started, and I can tell you this is also for real, but even for us as journalists, is when you hear your colleague is working from home, you tend to think, no, they're not doing so much. They're resting.
Yeah.
They're watching TV.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I was talking to somebody just this morning and he's like, I'm going back to the office full time. At home, I'm not productive. Then we have other people who say that when they're at home, they're actually putting in more work. However, research has shown that we are experiencing more productivity from employees with working from home as opposed to just working in the office. But there's a lot that we need to do to actually make it practical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're seeing more productivity from working from home. Kendi, this is, of course, part of the myth that is being busted, right?
Yes, though what is, because again, because of what Grace implied.
Yeah.
You're working longer hours.
Yeah.
But then the impact to be seen, it's almost, for those receiving it, as in for the supervisors, and that's part of the report, what it says is that the leaders are almost out of touch with the employees.
Yeah.
So it feels like there is the notion of, are you really working? Do we really trust the employees? And so the employee is then given so much pressure to put in more hours or to seem busier even after hours, and which then is leading to exhaustion. So there's more productivity from the employee perspective, but from those supervising, there's a touch that they're out of touch, sort of.
Okay.
And so there's so much pressure that is then put on the employee. We just need to figure out that balance of the hybrid working environment, so that there's also that almost freedom and trust. First, trust the employee, but also there's the freedom for the employee to choose to be like, you know what, it's now 5 p.m. I really need to attend to something else.
Okay.
Or I actually need to take a legit lunch break.
Okay.
And that should not mean that I'm not working, or it should not be seen as though I'm not working.
And I'm going to come back to that in a short while, but let me just take you back a bit, because part of this myth initially was, you're at home. There's no way of directly supervising you. And the other concern was it's perhaps going to affect, productivity.
Yes. So it's mixed. Is it a myth? It is. Depending on, again, who's working for you and who's with you.
Yeah.
But then I like to say, as a country, I think we also have a problem, which is an accountability issue, right? And so over time, we've not enabled ourselves to work out of accountability or out of full trust, and so that is why it continues to be a myth in that sense. So is there truth in it? Maybe, maybe not.
Okay.
Again, it depends on who is on which end.
Okay.
Right? But it's a deeper issue, I think, for us as a country. And Grace, being in the profession, maybe could comment. But I think it's societal and a mix of many things. But it takes more. It takes beyond that.
Okay. And I'm going to come to the of course findings of this index in a short while. But clearly, the issue initially was, you know, part of what Kendi is talking about. From that report, you realize that there is the issue of flexible is the way to go, and hybrid may be the way to go. But there are those who have been always arguing, especially now that we have vaccines and people are going back to work. There are those who are worried that, you know, we're going back to normal. So maybe from where you sit, is this some sort of a passing cloud or something here to stay?
I do not think it's a passing cloud. I think it's here to stay. Early adopters have already adopted completely. They have gone full working from home. The others are still processing and adjusting and figuring out some of the investments that they need to make. Because, like I said, we are 16 years earlier. People in manufacturing have no choice. Knowledge workers may have a choice, but manufacturers don't have a choice. They have to be in the office in the production plant to actually produce the goods. We have people who had not bought laptops. They're still working on desktops. And here you are, you need your employees to work from home. How do they work from home? So there's a lot of logistical support that comes with this. However, I do not think we are going back to where we were. Most employers are adopting to the fact that you can actually have people who are not fully in the office. However, like Kendi has said, accountability is a problem, and also the mentality that we have, that you have to be in the office to be productive. Yeah. Actually, this is a change from employers and employees. It's not one-sided.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then that let me just take you to back what Kendi has said about when you're working from home and the issue of supervision, because one of the findings of this report was managers are starting to be out of touch with their people, and that lack of personal interaction with the people, with the employees, of course, has a negative side, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Actually, let me just speak from an African point. We are a community. Africans are known to come together. We are known to correlate. We are known to engage physically. We are known to say hi and sasa when we're going to get a glass of water. Yeah. This is who we are. And then, so we are about to lose that. So engagement becomes a bit of a problem. Now, imagine when we were sitting in a boardroom and having a meeting, we would finish the meeting and have an engagement there that is probably off the cuff. And our supervisor will be able to ask you, by the way, did you finish that report? However, now on Zoom, everyone the meeting ends and everyone logs out. And that's done. Yeah. Yes. So we move on. Yes. So in terms of follow-up, in terms of accountability, in terms of supervision, it's becoming a bit of, it's a hurdle that needs to be worked on.
And that's what I think. That's why I think Kendi talked about perhaps how sometimes this high productivity is masking some sort of a very exhausted workforce, but we don't see it.
Yes, because like I said before, we really need to work on our wellness programs. Because first of all, this is change. Change is exhausting in itself, right? And then there's also the expectation of productivity. Like we expect you to operate at 100%, probably giving you 30%. Yeah. So you see that balance is a bit of, it's a problem that we need to work on. However, there are solutions. As soon as we accept that this is the reality, it is easy to put in the infrastructure, and put in the mechanisms that need to support this sort of workplace system. Okay. Yeah.
Kendi, how do we remain human in a sort of technology now dictated and driven world?
I think it's the mix, Victor, it's adopting the mix of hybrid. And hybrid means that sometimes you're working from home, sometimes you come to the office. So then there's that opportunity. And by that, it's being human, as in you give the power almost to the employee. Again, it starts from a place of trust from the employer, but it also starts from a place of accountability from the employee. But if those two are mastered, then there's how we can mix the hybrid working environment, in which case then there's the interaction that's in person, especially as the vaccinations are being rolled out. But even when you're remote, then you don't feel so disconnected. Victor, imagine a case of the many employees who are recruited remotely over the last 12 months. And they were having to join an organization that they have to sort of figure out how to be productive. Being a new head as it is, it's like, you remember those days when we'd say you're a Form 1 going into high school. I think it sort of feels like that every time you're going into a new company. So imagine you're having to do that remotely and you have to deal and be productive. Then where's the human side of it? Again, the wellness sessions that Grace is talking about, having even online sessions which are just purely getting to know each other, knowing me, knowing you. We have such various programs, like we do them in Microsoft like a lot. And they are programs that are embedded within the program, within the recruitment. So figuring out how can people just show up, allow people to show up as people, whether it's in a remote environment or it's in an area that allows for hybrid. For global companies, it may just be remote full-time, but then how do you then create those forums where they're just purely social forums?
All right.
Just show themselves.
Good. We have to take a very quick break, but Kendi and Grace are staying with me because when we come back, we talk about what this hybrid system is really like. How do we work around it? Do companies need to train their employees afresh or reskill them? How do we ensure inclusivity, especially in a situation of a hybrid system? And of course, we talk about how the future of work looks like. Don't go anywhere.
Friday at 10 p.m., NTV is dubbed as the home to the biggest and most fascinating people on TV. We give you a fix of the latest trends in entertainment, pack your eardrums with the freshest hits, and bring you the biggest names in the 254 and beyond. Energy, synergy, fun and flair. If it's hot, it's on the trend. If it's not, well... Catch this exhilarating show every Friday from 10 p.m. with the freshest trio, Osoro Biamono, the Scratch Master himself, DJ E, and your sassy homegirl, Amina Abdi Rabar. All this on the trend, only on NTV.
Sisi kama Kogalo team, saa hii game yetu imeenda class. Tunataka players wetu wapewe koti, ama namna gani? Suit. Wapewe suti, tuxedo. Ivo. Goalkeeper kwanza tunataka friji wekewe pale kando. Double door. Tunataka kishika ball anaenda kwa fridge anachukua. Ball gani hawakujangi kufunga wanakuwa wamesinda huko goalkeeper.
To get Kogalo, dial *811*850#. Skiza na Nation.
Jesus is holding you fast, and there's nothing anyone can do to dislodge that.
Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So here's the question: where does your money go most effortlessly towards?
Nothing ever satisfies us. The more we get, the more we will want.
In the world, what we are doing is that we are seeking happiness either in the wrong place or going about
Christ's
it
death
the wrong
on
way.
the cross speaks of the sacrifice that he made, the sacrifice that was completely acceptable by God.
Timeless love.
This time, I won't make any mistakes.
Either you give me everything I want, or else I'm going to start screaming for help. I'm going to ask them to detain you because I have nothing to lose either.
Quickly, because it's an emergency!
Please help me! The doctor is not here. She went outside. So we need to find her because this is urgent.
Timeless love.
Wow, thank you for your time. How juicy.
Juicy.
Following the closure of schools in Kenya, up to 15 million primary school learners are at home. Universities are unable to provide adequate faculty, teaching and learning facilities. There has been unequal access to virtual learning, which as a result continues to widen the education gap, especially for many students in marginalized areas. The rate of girls' re-enrollment is expected to be lower than that of boys due to teenage pregnancies and early marriages. What then is required of the government, private sector and individuals to aid in equalization of education? Join us on the 20th of May from 7:30 p.m. where key players will seek to find solutions to the new normal in education. The discussions will revolve around e-learning, future of higher education and policy interventions. Nation Leadership Forum, engaging society, impacting the nation.
How are women portrayed in film and television? We look at the facts behind the research.
Did Rwanda's president seek South Africa's expulsion from the African Union? We speak to a journalist who debunked these reports.
And the expose that broke the internet. We tell you how the investigation came together.
Weka chini leo. By simply placing a bid, you can own a car, a cooker, a television, a phone, a water tank, or even a plot. Get on your phone now. Weka 40 shillings chini and bid. Weka chini leo ujishindie.
Try Panadol Advance for relief from headaches, body aches, and fever. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet gently breaks down in the stomach, quickly absorbs, and starts providing pain relief in 15 minutes. For fast and effective pain relief that you can trust, try Panadol Advance.
Good. We are watching Your World on NTV this morning. We are talking about the future of work. Grace Nzula from the Institute of Human Resource Management is still with me, as well as Kendi Nderitu, the country manager for Microsoft. We will be continuing our discussion shortly, but let's give you a quick update of what else is happening across Africa and the world. And Egypt says it will send humanitarian aid to Gaza and devote $500 million in reconstruction aid to Gaza, where more than 200 people have been killed by Israeli strikes in less than 2 weeks. Egyptian Minister of Health Hala Zayed said on Monday evening that the shipment of medical aid worth $890,000, which included 65 tons of surgical supplies, had been dispatched along with 50 ambulances to transport wounded Palestinians for treatment at Egyptian hospitals. On Tuesday evening, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in France pledged $500 million to help reconstruction efforts in Gaza, where Israeli strikes are reported to have killed more than 200 people, including 61 children, and wounded more than 1,400 people. stay in North Africa, and a stream of migrants crossed from the border of Morocco to Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta unimpeded on Tuesday, adding to what Spanish officials say is an unprecedented influx at a time of high tension between Madrid and Rabat. At least 5,000 migrants, about 1,000 of them being minors, slipped into Ceuta on Monday, a record for a single day, while hundreds more men and women of all ages flocked into the Fnique border post to try their luck at the crossing in the early hours of Tuesday. Figures published by the Spanish Interior Ministry show that between January 1st and May 15th this year, 475 migrants reached Ceuta by land or sea, already more than double the 203 that arrived in the same period last year. Right, to the Middle East, and Lebanese military has announced that 3 rockets were fired from southern Lebanon towards Israel on Monday evening, prompting the Israeli army to respond with rocket fire. The Grad-type rockets were fired from the Sheba Farms area not far from the Israeli border. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden has told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that he backs having a ceasefire in the bloody exchanges between Israelis and Palestinians, but he stopped short of openly demanding truce.
U.S. President Joe Biden is reported to have reached out to the Israeli Prime Minister and has expressed his support for a ceasefire and also discussed U.S. engagement with Egypt and other partners towards that end, according to the White House. Biden has so far resisted joining other world leaders, and much of his own Democratic Party is calling for an immediate ceasefire in Israel. But the White House has steered clear of condemning any aspect of the ongoing Israeli military strikes, saying that the close U.S. ally is justified in responding forcefully to Hamas rocket volleys. International media reports that the United States on Monday blocked for the third time in a week the adoption of a joint UN Security Council statement calling for a halt to Israeli-Palestinian violence, triggering a new emergency closed-door session set for Tuesday. The text, drafted by China, Tunisia and Norway, was submitted late Sunday for approval Monday by the Council's 15 members as Israeli jets continue to pound the Gaza Strip and the death toll from a week of violence passed 200. The United States indicated that they could not currently support an expression by the Security Council, according to sources who sat in on the meeting. The Security Council has held 3 emergency meetings on the escalating violence in the past week, the latest on Sunday, without reaching a common position, with Israel's main ally, the United States, accused of obstructionism. Amid calls for an end to the fighting, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said late Monday Israel would continue striking at the terrorists' target. Israel launched its air campaign on the Gaza Strip on May 10th after the enclave's rulers, the Islamist group Hamas, fired rockets towards the Jewish state, an escalation sparked by unrest in Israeli-annexed East Jerusalem. In total, 212 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza, including at least 61 children and more than 1,400 wounded, whilst in Israel, 10 people have died, including a child, with hundreds injured, according to officials on both sides.
Right, it's time to continue that conversation on the future of work and where we left it with Grace, of course, and Kendi. The future of work is definitely not fully virtual. And we're not going back to physical because virtual is also here to stay, which means hybrid is the way to go. Yes. Kendi, do we have enough, infrastructure-wise, enough perhaps resources, technologically wise, from where you sit to perhaps move to hybrid?
As a country, I believe the government has done a very good job in trying to lay out the infrastructure that's required, or at least to support even the private providers to lay the infrastructure. Are we where we're supposed to be? No. Has there been great progress? I think yes. One of the gaps that we've seen is there is, and I think this implied this earlier, employees have been encouraged to work remotely, but employers have not gone the extra mile to support them in terms of working remotely. And this would mean providing them with tools like maybe laptops, especially, or for those who had desktops, we also have like virtual machines so they can access their data, which would have been in desktops. But also in terms of connectivity, which is a big deal because you need connectivity for you to be able to work remotely.
Okay.
So are we there yet? No. Has there been progress? Yes. Can more be done? Yes. Should it be done? I think it should, if we are to remain relevant, either as corporates, institutions, or even as a country. And also, it's when one of the things, even as I close on this, Victor, one of the many opportunities that I see for us as for the young people in Kenya is that the hybrid model or the remote working or the virtual working model actually allows people to access jobs from anywhere in the world. So I wish that is a drive we would focus on to also encourage our young unemployed people to have access to global roles, because this is the best time to do that.
Okay. Grace, what difference does it make now that we're moving to hybrid?
In terms of infrastructure or? In
terms of what Kendi says, access to jobs, in terms of productivity, in terms of the gains that we are looking at.
It is real. We have people who are subcontracting our own brothers and sisters in Kenya, and these are international companies, no offices, but they're expected to work from home. It's actually happening a lot. I have a friend of mine based in Mombasa who's started a job last month with a company that he did an interview online. He was inducted online. He has his KPIs and everything, and there are only 3 in Kenya. So he's based in Mombasa, there's one in Nairobi, and there's one in Kisumu.
So these are the knowledge-based jobs?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's an NGO actually, because they're doing a bit of grassroots. It's a marine thingy, so it has to be somewhere near water-based system. So yeah, it is a reality, and it is the way to go. Okay. And like Kendi has implied, are we doing enough? Not yet. Most likely as a country, I mean, as organizations, and that's why I started by saying we really need to change our strategies because we need to direct the money to where it can support the future of work because this is the future. Hybrid system is actually more encouraged, not only because of COVID, but because of the ease of it. Yeah. You know, I don't have to be in traffic for 2 hours. I can just sit at home and do my work. Yeah. But at the same time, I still need the human touch. I need to come and collaborate. Okay. Yeah.
But sometimes we see these things as when you go virtual, they start to forget about you. It's like your job becomes some sort of obsolete. And in a short while, we're starting to worry if I'll still have my job next year. In fact, there are people who are worried that this whole thing of, you know, virtual technology will kill jobs.
I think we need to go back into relearning and changing of mindset. I think the most important thing is actually our mindsets. We need to know that we count even if we are not being seen physically. Somebody was asking, how do I network? And there are no networking events anymore, you know? Yeah. But you can network online. You can have an opinion. You know, you can join forums where people are actually networking. And you don't go there and take the backbench, you know? Even as you're working from home, are you being productive? Because how they will forget you if they're not seeing results. Now, Kimbelembele has to come in. You know, your work has to speak for you. You have to speak out. You have to say, this is what I've been able to achieve. I need 1, 2, 3 to achieve more. Because it's no longer about the hours you spend. Yeah. It's more about the results. Okay.
So Kendi, from an infrastructure point of view, then, if I have decided I've made up my mind and Grace here and yourself have convinced me to perhaps split my operations into hybrid, how do I need to prepare?
It really starts with the model that your business was built in. So if it was purely traditional mortar and brick, then it means it starts from a strategy perspective. If it was a business that can be agile enough to adopt almost a month later or 2 later, and by agile enough, with their permission, we know M-Kopa, right? M-Kopa is one of the companies that's in Kenya. Yeah. And one of the things we're able to do in 2 months into the pandemic is move their 800 or so employees of Nairobi into remote working. M-Kopa had their headquarters in Nairobi. They had about 800 employees sitting there, over 200 of those being call center employees. But then, because they were an agile business and because their leaders were agile enough to quickly adopt and see the value for technology, and we worked with them very closely, they were actually able to move their HQ as a virtual HQ, and all their employees work from home. They actually closed the physical offices. So as a business, it's thinking from that perspective. Is your strategy agile enough as a business leader? Have you thought about how to move away from the brick and mortar? I know, like the bank I bank with, they closed a number of branches, and they say people don't come to branches anymore. They confidently actually just close them down, but yet we still do continue to do so much business with them. So again, it's just trying to look from both perspectives, as employees and also those that you serve. Are you able to keep the level of your service to your customers from a remote perspective? So then if your customers can move from a place where they're being supported remotely, then it also means your employees can support from a remote arrangement. So in an infrastructure perspective, these are conversations we can have as Microsoft with our partners, with our channel, to just come and have a look and see how can we work together. But there's a path to it.
Kendi, let me challenge you on that a bit, because there's definitely, let's say Victor Kiprop has been doing his job for 10 years. All I have known is I need to print stuff and let's say record stuff and print them and take them to my boss, back and forth, back and forth. But now I have to do these things from home. And sort of, I mean, it means I have to start using things like Excel, you know, using Zoom to talk to my boss. And which brings me to something very important. This report indicated that at least 40% of workers would require what you guys would call reskilling.
Yeah. Yes. So, and that's what I'm saying. We have to start, as an organization, you start to look at how ready are you for first to respond to a virtual customer, as in to support in that sense, but also to utilize. And if you can respond to your customers virtually, then it means you can actually also support them. You can work with teams that work virtually. Now, to the example you gave, you've worked for 10 years and you need to print and you need to collaborate. That is why the collaboration tools are there. If you look, like, we are a global company. We don't come to the office, right? As in, since from day one, when there was a lockdown, we closed our offices, as in not closed permanently, but we have a work from home policy as Microsoft. But we've remained productive. Do I still sign documents? I do, but I sign them online. Do I have instances where we need to review documents? Yes. We do this through what we call SharePoint, which as one of the tools for collaboration that we have. That's our Microsoft solution. There could be others in the market, but there are. And then have we also, as Microsoft, coming to bridge the reskilling, the skill gap? Yes. Remember, one of the things we're doing is reskilling. We've launched this. We've rolled it out. We are working with organizations, and this is what we have in mind. We're saying, for you to remain relevant, you need to reskill your teams, and so we're not leaving you alone. We work with you to reskill you. We are doing it. I know I've seen other companies in the tech space as well are doing it. So there is a lot of opportunity out there for companies to actually, if you want to be relevant, if you want to remain viable as a viable business, then we are there as global companies, as local companies, as we've enabled people to do this. We are there to help reskill, to help you adopt the infrastructure, to help work with your teams. Minds are agile. We have a young working force. It's there. We can do it, Victor.
Okay. But Grace, definitely for human resource managers and for CEOs, the people who lead organizations, it's a bit of a challenge. How do I know who should work hybrid and who should work from the office?
Yes, it's actually an upcoming question where people are asking, how do you decide who is to come to the office and who is to work from home? But I would say it is more about the job. What job requires what tools, and are the tools available, and must the job be done in the office? A cameraman, for example, has to go where there is action.
Oh, they have to be.
And however, a newspaper writer can't stay at home and write from home. Myself, for example, sometimes I'm in the office, sometimes I'm not in the office. I am also involved in a carpentry school. We have to do carpentry training practically, because in fact some of our students are saying, I've watched YouTube for so long, I can't do it. So this carpentry school, we have to do it physically. And that's why IHRM, for example, is organizing the HR Congress in June. And the theme is, the game has changed. Are you ready? And we are urging all HRs to show up, because we need to actually understand each other. We need to learn from each other. We need to actually understand how to do these things. Because there's no one cloth fits all. So like going back to your question, it is about relearning, about categorizing the jobs, because it's not the person you're sending home. It is the job that requires both. Maybe you're not needed in the office, you can be productive even at home. So.
And there's a thin line there of inequality, because, I mean, we see Grace every day. She's here, she's a camera person moving left, right, and center. I mean, we still need Grace, come on, who's going to carry the cameras? And then Victor is at home, you know, working. No one really sees my achievements. No one really sees, you know, my work. And you tend to get more appreciated than I do.
Like I said before, it's our mindset that we really need to change. But at the same time, hybrid system is actually the way to go, because people are coming to the office. So you don't really need to be home throughout. Even if it's once or twice a week, show up in the office. Let's discuss what you need to discuss. If not, because I'm speaking from a bigger point, as unlike Kendi, who they have adopted technology, they have accepted it and they're living it. Some organizations don't even understand what you're talking about. They're still wondering, oh my God, you mean this can happen? You know, servers are still in their office. You know, so we have the early adopters, we have people who are living this. So, and it's up to us to change our mindset to actually keep this conversation going, so that then we are not left behind. The truth is, it is a reality. Hybrid is the way to go.
But then there is also the problem of the definition of now an employee. Because if I don't see you in the office, you're just working virtually, you're starting to sound to me or feel to me like an independent contractor who just comes once in a while.
Yes, we are moving to something we are calling a gig economy. A gig economy is where you come, I define, this is what I want from you. It is being done for this period of time, and this is how much we're paying you.
But you're about to take away my privileges. I mean, social security, health insurance. If you're sort of starting to classify me as an independent contractor.
Yes. What we're going to do is see a change in the contractual agreements, and that's why fixed term contracts are becoming a thing. You are employed here for 1 year. Your contract starts from January to December. Throughout this time, you're going to have your social security, you're going to have your NHIF paid, you're going to have your tutories will continue, and even your medical cover. Now, if your job requires that extends, then that extends. However, we need, like I said, to change our mindset. Because you actually have an opportunity to do much more. You can work for 5 companies because you are free. You have more time, you know. So instead of getting stuck up into my job security, this is mine. How about we adopt the new way, because we actually may succeed more. I work for like 4 organizations as we speak. So
4 organizations?
Yeah.
Oh my God, can you give me just one of your jobs? No. So of course, Kendi, we really have to start wrapping up this conversation. But from where you sit then as perhaps a technology provider and someone who is guiding companies to go into this new space, what's exactly the way forward? Because it feels like we're sort of walking into the dark. We have to take very careful steps. We don't want to make mistakes.
Yes, and actually, let me start from there, where you said the dark, we don't want to make mistakes. The reality is, the pandemic sort of equalized many of us, right? So, because it caught all of us by surprise, I don't think anyone was prepared for it. And what helped was really the mindset. It's back the mindset, like Grace kept saying. If you're quick to adopt, then it's really experiment and learn. Experiment, fail, learn, move, do the next thing. And so organizations need to be willing to go through that experimenting and learning. But from a personal perspective, and I like what Grace said, it's actually empowering the individual. It means you have a choice. All you need to do is kill yourself and make yourself relevant for this day and age. Then your talent will actually be sought for around the world. We've seen that, and there are tools to do that. If you go to LinkedIn, which is also a Microsoft company, you'll be able to see those learning paths that are there. You're able to see opportunities around the world. Before you couldn't do that because you had to physically show up in one office. But when you get to a place where now we're actually building on the gig economy, then it means you can have so many assignments which you choose.
Okay.
And these assignments expose you wide. So let's have a learning, a growth mindset where we fail forward, experiment, learn, and then we grow.
Kendi, that experimentation you keep mentioning every second actually comes at a cost. I mean, I have to install, I have to buy laptops for people to work at home. I have to install reliable, internet systems at home, and then it doesn't work.
I don't think that the option, we just established that we are not going back to physical, right? And if you insist that people become physical, you will lose your top talent. Your top talent will be sought after, so you will lose as a company. So if we've established that, then make it enjoyable for people to work for your organization. And look at it this way. You also can have access to whatever talent you want from around the world. It's not just Kenyans accessing global opportunities, but even companies here can access any talent from around the world.
Okay.
So it's the experiment, it's how you choose to see it, Victor. There's opportunity in all of that. And I think we stand more to gain more than lose.
I'm getting the feeling that you're saying there's no turning back, and I want to get your closing. I want to get your closing remarks, ladies. But just before I do that, let's try and see part of the feedback that some of you have been sending us. If that is ready, remember we asked you in our question of the day: how has COVID-19 affected the way you work, especially over the last 1 year? And some of you have been sending feedback. Let's get to see. Pancras says institutions, and he says those that can and most can need to adopt the new normal of work. A hybrid model would be good. Gone are the days when you needed to sit behind the desk to be seen, to be working. And I think that's a very interesting perspective I want to mention. Linda Wanjuru Liwan says the pandemic has shifted our child financial literacy trainings to be virtual here at, I believe that's the company, and says the children equally enjoy the classes. It's been a very, very, very good experience. Thank you, Linda Wanjuru, and of course, Pancras. And Grace, Pancras raises a very valid point, because in the past it used to be, you come in and you hang your coat so that we make sure that, you're around.
Yes.
And you're being seen to be working, or you become some sort of a busybody. You carry files around, keep mark timing in the office so that we can see, Grace is really working. But things are changing, and this online thing has proven that, you don't really have to do all that. And sometimes you can even, because the other challenge with the office was you have to sit here from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. But this thing of being at home or starting to work at 6, taking a break at 10 has shown that you don't really have to be and bust at this myths of the past. What do you think?
Yes, and it is actually a good thing, if you ask me. There's more opportunity. There's more, you can achieve more, you're able to do more. But as I said before, it begins with your mindset. If you see it as a problem, it becomes a problem. If you see it as an opportunity, then it becomes an opportunity. Do we need to invest in a few things here and there? Of course we do. Do we need to learn and train people? Oh, absolutely. Every day. Is learning becoming better? Yes. I mean, all you do is get home. I run a show, a webinar series every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yesterday, we had 230 people logged in. So yes, you get to achieve more. You can do much more than we used to be able to achieve, because it's 8 to 5, offices are closed. Right now, you call someone at 6, they're actually working. So there's an opportunity here, and we need to take advantage, and especially for young people. We need to stop complaining that there are no jobs in Kenya. We need to look at this as an opportunity to actually either create jobs for ourselves or actually now tap into the global market as a nation. And obviously, inviting all the HRs to the HR Congress in June, for sure. So.
Good. Ladies, what a wonderful discussion, but we have to end it. Let me start with you, Kendi, for your closing remarks on, of course, the way forward and how the future of work looks like for anyone who is watching this morning.
Okay. Thank you, Victor, and thank you for having me today. So in closing, like Pankras said, like we've said throughout the session, hybrid work is here to stay. For the employer, we would invite you to rethink the employee experience to compete for the best and most diverse talent. The talent landscape has shifted. Employees are expected, expectations have changed, and the best leaders will empathize with the unique needs of each of the groups so that you have access to these employees. For the individuals, the Kenyans listening, for the young people who are saying there are no jobs, start by going to LinkedIn. Look for the learning path. Reskill yourself. Look at the opportunities that are there. And as long as you have a skill, there's someone who wants to work with you. So the opportunities are beyond our borders, our Kenyan borders. There's so much out there. And as Microsoft, we are here to work with everyone, all players of the economy, whether it's individuals, SMEs, government, private sector. We're here as Microsoft. Our mission is to empower every person to do more. And this is a very relevant space for us.
Okay.
Thank you, Victor.
All right. And of course, your closing remarks, Grace.
I think I would like to challenge all employers, employees, HR professionals to start looking at a way to make this better for everybody, to have a mind of progress, and to know that this is a risk, and obviously beware of the scammers, because with technology you can't see this person, you cannot ascertain that they're real. So we need to also learn and relearn and keep learning and keep increasing our skills, so that then it becomes not a story but becomes a way of life. So yes, hybrid is the way to go, and we need to invest in it. Thank you for having me.
All right, of course, what a wonderful discussion we've had this morning with the ladies. Grace Nzula, she's an HR professional and consultant, of course, and also the development coordinator at the Institute of Human Resource Management, IHRM, and of course, Kendi Nderutu, she's the country manager at Microsoft. And this has been the discussion about the future of work. We hope you have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation as we have. We have to end the conversation for now. But remember, we told you earlier on in this broadcast that the results for the by-election in Bonchari and the reward in Nyandarua County are out. And so are, of course, the results for the Juja for constituency, which are about to be announced, I believe, by the IEBC. You would want to miss, of course, updates on that. And that's why NTV Sasa is up next. Keep watching. I've been your host, Victor Kiprop.